This is such a stupid setup. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is the start of a book review series. So I was up in the air about calling this series the Harry Potter book reviews or the Wizarding World book reviews. I only say that because I will also be reviewing the Fantastic Beasts books as well as the Cursed Child. So it only made sense to call it Wizarding World book reviews. Anyways, if you haven't read the title, this video is about the first book that I will be reviewing, the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone. If you didn't know, I am in Slytherin, which is why I have the house book for this video. I only have the first two because the first two are the only ones out, but I will be pre-ordering the third one, I think in May or June. So I've already reviewed this book. I've been listening to the audiobooks. So I've already reviewed the first one on my book blog. I will link the blog review in the description down below so you can go check that out if you don't want to sit around and listen to me ramble on about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So I did give the Philosopher's Stone 5 stars. It is the first book in the series, so obviously it deserves 5 stars because it introduced me to the Wizarding World, so of course, like I said, it deserves the 5 stars. It is not my favorite in the series though. Goblet of Fire is my favorite, so I will be much more enthused discussing that book in the 4th video in the series. Now, for those of you who have not read this series, which I have seen that there are quite a lot of people who haven't, I only have 3 reasons why you should pick up this series. The first one being the fact that it is set in a fantasy world. You start off in this mundane, dull reality, and then within the next few chapters you are, hello Kent, slung into this fantasy world, and everything is happening so fast, and it's amazing. My second reason is Harry Potter himself. Now, I think every last one of us can relate to him very easily. I mean, not all of us are orphans or living in an abusive household, but I think that at some point we've all felt abandoned or lost or just wanted to feel loved and important. We are all a Harry Potter at some point in our life, which makes him a very relatable character in that sense. And then the last reason to read this book is simply magic. Now, many of us have grown up reading these books, and I can say for quite a few that we will always carry this series in our hearts as we grow older. Harry Potter is just this sweet, innocent 11-year-old boy who unfortunately drew the short straw in his situation. And if I had been in his situation, I probably would have been very, very depressed. And I don't understand how he wasn't. He wasn't depressed, he got through it. He was just a happy boy despite everything that had happened to him. Hello, Kent. Hi. Can I help you? Are you done? So besides Harry Potter, Rowling did create a large, wonderful cast. She did a superb job creating them, making each one relatable in their own way. I think in the first book, Hagrid is probably my favorite. Minus Hermione, but definitely Hagrid is probably one of my favorites in the first book. He's just this cuddly giant. Who wouldn't want to know a cuddly giant? Obviously, we've got the Golden Trio. We have the Weasley twins, who are always a awesome joke to have around. Then there's Snape, and so many people hate Snape, and I'm gonna say that I was one of very few who, when they read this book as a kid, never thought Snape was the villain. I knew there was something up with Quirrell, and I will explain that in a little bit. I've always enjoyed Snape's character. unlike so many people. And yes, I will admit Snape has his flaws, just like all the other characters have their flaws. So you can't just pinpoint Snape as this character who has flaws. But you know what? Everyone is like that. Everyone has been like that once in their life, and so you cannot treat Snape that way. Excuse me, Kent. You cannot treat Snape that way when everyone has been like that at some point. So let's talk about the Golden Trio for a second. I've already discussed Harry, but we have Hermione. Hermione is my favorite out of the Golden Trio. She's brilliant, she's beautiful, she's a muggle. We don't see a lot of muggles in the wizarding world, which makes her just a very unique character. She is like Lily. She was born in a muggle family and became a wizard. Definitely enjoy reading about her character every time I've opened this book. I was very upset with how Ron and Harry treated her in the first book. She definitely did not deserve to be treated that way just because she is a know-it-all. But she deserves being called a know-it-all because she is brilliant. She could tone it down a little bit, but I love her character for that very reason. And then we have Ron. I don't have too much to say about his character in this book. Just like the Weasley twins, he was the comic relief from the Golden Trio. I definitely enjoyed his character despite his nasty attitude in the first book. And before, I did talk about Harry, but I do want to say that Harry was not a favorite character of mine. He was actually never my favorite in this series, despite it being all about him. I think that's why I could never get on the Harry train, because it was all about him, and I was more interested in all the other characters that Rowling had created. And I know this is going to get me a lot of negative thoughts, but Dumbledore is not a saint that everyone makes him out to be. My dad loves Dumbledore because he's this awesome badass wizard. He's the Gandalf of the wizarding world, you could say. And but him and Gandalf are quite different. Dumbledore has some problems, and I guess I should probably follow my own advice and not just hate on him like everyone does with Snape because of what Snape had done. But first off, Dumbledore left Harry with the Dursleys knowing how they were, knowing the abusive household he would be staying in. And on top of that, he left a child on the front steps in the middle of the night. He didn't even ring the doorbell. He just left a note and left the child on the doorstep. And then we have Snape. Yes, I like Snape, but Dumbledore willingly hired a man who is a bully. He bullies the students at Hogwarts, and he knows about it. So how could he continue to have a man on staff like that? And since he seems to know everything that's going on in Hogwarts, how did he not know that one of the professors that he hired was the villain? I mean, if you know everything going on at the school, how did you not know that? And despite him seeming to think he knows everything that's going on in the school, how can he just let three minors, just rampage on through the school, going to places that they know they shouldn't be? Some great headmaster, right? But we shall talk about the ultimate villain in this series. Not just this book, the series, which is Voldemort. I didn't find, at least in this book, for him to be a great villain. He isn't scary despite all the hype being around him. What kind of villain doesn't kill their victim right away? There's always that chit chat, and that's always a turnoff for me when it comes to villains. There's always the chit chat. I get it. If Voldemort had gone through with it, then there wouldn't have been a series. But nonetheless, I mean, he could have done something else. He could constantly be attacking and just suck at it. And on top of that, a child literally defeated Voldemort. That's pretty sad for a villain. You're a grown man, a grown snake man, and a child defeated you. It's pretty weak to me. And now, like I said, we were going to talk about Quirrell and how I knew he was our antagonist for the Sorcerer's Stone. My issue is, and this first tipped me off, is what kind of defense against the dark arts professor when they see a troll faints? I mean, come on, you're supposed to be badass, and then you see a troll and faint. Plus, Rowling made it a point to always seem like Harry was looking at Snape when his scar started to hurt, but every time he did that, Quirrell was somewhere in the vicinity. And the turban, everyone noticed that it had a nasty smell, so that was another bell ringing in my head. And then he had the African prince and zombie story that a lot of students caught on to. He always changed the subject as soon as it was brought up. And I guess maybe it's just because I've always been observant as a kid that I've noticed these things, but it just, I don't know. That's my reasoning for why I always thought it was him and that I was correct about that. So my dislikes for this book in particular were very slim to none. I didn't enjoy the multi-point of view that we got with this book. I mean, we stick with Harry's until he finds out that he's a wizard. And then it changes from there on after. And of course, I will forever loathe the Dursleys. That's just an obvious one, and I can't say that's a dislike to the book itself. Obviously, we're supposed to loathe the Dursleys. I just wanted to make that point. Did I loathe the Dursleys? Did I mention I loathe them? But I do want to admit that they can't be as bad as I'm saying they are, because they did take in Harry as a kid, as a baby. They could have easily sent him to an adoption agency or something. Vernon, Mr. Dursley, does take Harry Potter to King's Cross to go to Hogwarts. He could have easily said no and sent him to the boys' school like he originally was going to. And he does pick up Harry after school is over. So, I mean, despite the abusive household that he is living, they're not all that bad, I guess. I mean, they're not, I don't know. I mean, they're still abusive. And it's not okay. Him and Vernon doing these things doesn't make it okay. But he does do these things. Frankly, I'm quite shocked that this book is as old as I am. I'm going to be 22 in November, and this book will be 22 years old in June. That is just insane. You just can't turn your nose up to a series like this. It's quickly become a classic for people my age, and I definitely think it should be taught in school because there are so many themes behind it that are prevalent for teenagers. And I think just like The Hobbit's being taught in British literature, Harry Potter should probably be taught in British literature. So on that note, I am here to sign off on the first book review to this Harry Potter series. I cannot wait to review the second book, which I did finish reading in February. I probably should have stated that I did finish rereading The Philosopher's Stone in January. I'm currently listening to Prisoner of Azkaban, and I'm on the last chapter, so those reviews should be coming up pretty shortly. Thank you for watching, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys again.